Good evening. I'm glad you're here tonight. My name is Becky Womble, and I'm the President and CEO of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. And it's my honor to welcome you here to this runoff election for the May 24th election. This is our first in-person candidate forum since before the pandemic, so we are glad that you are here. Tonight's forum is part of the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce initiative called BastropVotes.com. The purpose is simple. It is to promote the vote in Bastrop and Bastrop County. And we do this in 3 ways. We actively register voters to vote. We have a website with information about candidates running for office. And we also conduct candidate forums like the one you are here, like this one that you are here at tonight. So we want you to hear from the candidates themselves before Election Day on Tuesday, May 24th. Since the inception of Bastrop Votes, we have done more than 20 candidate forums. Tonight, I want you to know that there's a general election on Tuesday, November 8th, and that there will be candidates possibly here that are also running for this office that may be in the room. And so if you want to meet those people during the time that we take a break, we would encourage you to do that. I also want to let you know that we do have 2 dates in October for the general election when we will have both parties at the forum. We're just waiting on confirmation from the League of Women Voters because they are going to be the moderator for those forums. It's been an exciting time to be a part of Bastrop County, and especially since July of 2020 when we had the announcement that Tesla was going to come to our backyard. So there's all kinds of new housing developments. And so at this time, we need visionary, energetic leaders in elected office. We have 896 square miles that we represent in Bastrop County. Before I get started, I want you to know that the slate of questions tonight were assembled and vetted by a panel from our Governmental Affairs Committee. The moderator was giving those questions in advance, and he had sole discretion on which questions will be selected. The questions had this criteria. Questions directed personally at one candidate will not be asked. Rude or inflammatory questions will not be used, and questions of a similar topic have been combined so that there's no repetitive subject matters. I want the candidates to please speak clearly into your microphones so that we can record this forum and that people can hear you whenever we launch it on our Bastrop Votes Initiative website and also on our Facebook page. Also, the recording of this forum will go up in the next 48 hours. Finally, we have a couple facilitators that are helping us put on this forum tonight. First, we have Christy Lee. She is our timekeeper, and she is the chair of our Governmental Affairs Committee. She is on our board of directors, and she's just an amazing volunteer in Bastrop. So we want to thank her for being here tonight. Yes, round of applause. The moderator for tonight's forum is Charlie Stone. Mr. Stone is a veteran who served in the U.S. Army as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He graduated from Southwest Texas, now known as Texas State University, and he graduated with a degree in law enforcement. Mr. Stone worked as a DPS trooper, has been in private business, has served as a county judge. How ironic is that? From 1991 to 1999 in Refugio County. In 2011, he retired after working 3 years at the Capitol for a state representative and 11 years as an executive director for a state agency. So, Judge Stone, are you ready to get started?
All right, how many of you say refugio instead of refugio? All right, could be refugio. That's the correct one. But anyway, I was the only county judge that could serve 3 counties at one time. Refugio, and refugio. So anyway, I know you want to hear from the candidates, so we're going to get started real quick. There are some protocols I need to go through so you'll understand how this will proceed. Many of you have already heard this, but I'm required to read this to you again. So here are the protocols, and the candidates have received the exact same information I'm going to be reading to you. A candidate who does not attend cannot otherwise be represented either by an individual or a prepared statement. If only one candidate is in attendance, there will be no forum for that office. The candidate president will be permitted to make an opening statement and take questions submitted in writing from the audience and asked through the moderator if they so choose during the time scheduled. Now, obviously, we have both candidates here, so we're going to have a forum tonight, folks. The question, as Becky said earlier, have been presented to me, and they have not been made available to the candidates. So here's the time allotments that we give to the candidates. Each candidate will be allotted the following: a 2-minute opening statement each. And then when we get to the questions after that, there'll be a 1.5-minute response to each question, and then a 1-minute rebuttal for the candidate who was asked the question first. Then at the end of all the questions, we'll go into closing statements, and that will be 2 minutes for the closing statements. And then if we have any questions from the floor, if time permits that, there will be 1.5 minutes to answer those questions. So the order of statements and questions goes like this. The order of the opening statements will be determined by alphabetical order for each office. So in this case, Mr. Klaus has a name that will be first, so he'll get the opening statement first. And then the candidate gets the first question, will be the first respond. The first responder will be the candidate who was second to make his or her opening statement, and subsequent questions will alternate between the candidates. So Mr. Locks will be able to be the one that gets the first question. To allow time for closing statements, a total of 12 questions will be asked with a short break between question 8 and 9. And it depends on how long-winded these candidates are, whether or not we take the whole time up here. And as you've heard, Dr. Lee is the timekeeper. And so if a candidate is in mid-sentence when the stop sign, did I hear a voice? Okay. If a candidate is in mid-sentence when the stop sign is shown, he or she may complete the sentence in as few words as possible. And if a candidate attempts to exceed his time, the moderator, that's me, will inform the candidate that the allotted time has expired and direct the forum to continue to the next candidate. So candidates, are you all ready? All right, well, here we go. So I have selected 12 questions from a list that was presented to me. And we will start with opening statements. So Mr. Klaus, you get to make the opening statement. 2 minutes for that, sir.
Well, I'm born and raised, glad to see all of y'all here today. Born and raised in Bastrop County. After graduating from high school, I spent 2 years in the military. The ship I was on went to Vietnam, so I'm a Vietnam veteran. After returning from military, I went to work for an air conditioning company here in Bastrop County. I worked for them for 3 years. During that 3 years, I married my wife, Kelda. We've been married for 47 years. We have 3 children and 4 little granddaughters. After in 1976, after 3 years working for the other guy, I decided to open my own business. So I took over his business and run an air conditioning business for 30 years. In 2006, we decided that we kind of wanted to do something different. So she went to work for the county, and I went into I kept working for these people. And after, let me get my train of thought here. And after I decided to retire this year, I decided to continue serving the people of Bastrop County. I've been very active in the county. I worked for the, VFW commander for 12 years, Knights of Columbus for 2 years. I was treasurer with the Knights of Columbus. I do fish fries for the Red Rock School, elementary school. And Little League, RCRC, I worked for them. Did service work for them, did field maintenance while I was with the RCRC, helping them do things when my children were with RCRC.
All right.
And that's it. I got to stop.
All right, Mr. Locks, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Good evening. Just so you know, never say to a politician, would you like to say a few words? Because it always is more than just a few. I'm Don Laux. I'm glad to see you all here today. This is a very important subject, is the selection of the next county judge, because the county judge is the executive leader of the county government, and we need someone who can execute those duties in an efficient fashion. My life has been one of service, 22 years in the Air Force as a fighter pilot, instructor pilot, and test pilot. After retirement, I joined the Texas State Guard and served as a soldier for another 13 years. I was the first Republican to be elected to office here as a county commissioner in 2000. And I served as a volunteer firefighter, a certified firefighter here for 15 years until after my 8th back surgery. I figured it was probably time I'd hang that up and do something else. But I've been very active in the community. I also serve on the Bastrop County Veterans Honor Guard. What we're looking at in Bastrop County is extreme growth. It's almost an invasion. We're getting the latest stats are 6,500 to 7,500 people a month being added to our residence rolls. I think it's going to be closer to 10 to 12,000. We need to have the means of defining and controlling density management. In other words, subdividing, platting, replatting, and replatting a subdivision so that one part is 7 homes per acre is unacceptable. I will call a forum, a conference of county judges, if I win this nomination, hold it here in Bastrop, and come up with legislative relief that we can try to get through the legislature to help us here in Bastrop County and really all over Texas. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move along to the question. And Mr. Locks, you'll be first with this, 1.5 minutes for the answer to this question. And both candidates, if you need me to repeat it, I'll be happy to do that and won't count against you, okay? What is your opinion on where 911 communication services should be housed, either under law enforcement or the county? Would you support the sheriff's ongoing request to move the county emergency communications center back under the sheriff's office?
I was a firefighter when this debate took place, and it's my opinion, considering I saw it before when it was under the sheriff's department and after it was in emergency management, that it should go back to the sheriff's department. That's the nexus of emergency activity in the county. And it hasn't, from what I've conferred with the sheriff, I've conferred with others, they're not happy with the performance, the response times, and that needs to be taken care of. I think a direct communication site with the sheriff's department is the best way to get the word out. The 800 megahertz system that we have, the triple trunking radio system, is basically computerized, is a very good system. We also need to make sure that the VHF, I'm talking a little bit of tech stuff here because I'm a ham radio operator, but to have a backup VHF system, which is basically an analog manual system, is essential so that if we have an emergency, we lose the computer control of the 800 megahertz system. We have a way of communicating with the emergency services, EMS and whatever. So I'm in favor of doing that. I've been looking at the funding for it and manpower, but I think the right place for it is under the sheriff. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Klaus, same question, 1.5 minutes for you, sir.
I agree very much that the 911 should be under the sheriff's department. I seen a wreck out on 21 and 812, and I called it in at 6:31 and tried to get the traffic on side of the road, tried to get myself killed pretty well. But at 6:41, there still was not anybody out there. Somebody finally showed up as far as emergency vehicles. We finally had somebody out there at 6:55. And I don't know, maybe I answered the question wrong. They asked me if there was anybody hurt, anybody anybody bleeding, and I said no. So maybe there was no hurry to get anybody out there, but I do feel like 911 should be under the sheriff's department because I have talked with the sheriff's department and they said they hear all the complaints. The other 911 services, they don't hear the complaints. The sheriff's department hears all the complaints. So I definitely believe that it should be under the sheriff's department.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cloud. Mr. Locks, you have another minute if you have anything else you want to add for that question.
Turn the mic on this time. Yes, I just, one of the things on my push card, strengthen the sheriff's department and Office of Emergency Management to provide the highest level of public safety. The Sheriff's Department, we'll probably get to this in another question, but I want to emphasize that funding for the Sheriff's Department has been inadequate. And funding it in an inadequate fashion actually makes it more costly because we have more turnover. We have to address that. We have to make sure that we can retain officers. That they have a career system, a step system, so they have a career path to stay in law enforcement and not are lured away to other counties, which costs us money. It's a foolish economy to underpay highly trained staff. Thank you.
All right, we're moving to question 2 now. Mr. Klaus, this is for you in a minute and a half. So let me read this. The county tax rate was 62.9 cents per $100 valuation in 2012. In 2022, the tax rate is now down to 52.2 cents per $100 valuation. For what reason would you consider increasing the tax rate?
With the value of land going up and everything else, I do not see any reason to increase the tax rate. I sat in on a commissioner's court here about 3 weeks ago, and the chief appraiser came in there and said that the tax was the appraised value of land was going to be going up substantially. So I see no reason to increase the tax rate. And since 2014, I believe the tax rate has been going down. So I definitely I don't want to see people's taxes go up. So I definitely do not see a reason for increasing the tax rate. I think it should go down, because if it stays the way it is, people are not going to be able to afford their homes, because the value of property has surely went up tremendously in Bastrop County all of y'all know your last appraisal. So I definitely think the tax rate should definitely keep going down. And I'm hoping for everybody's sake, it definitely does. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Laux, same question, minute and a half.
The tax rate versus the amount of tax is kind of a hocus pocus thing that's played on us. You may have seen that there was a claim made that the tax rate went down for this year. The reason it went down is inflation has raised the property values and demand has raised the property values. So the tax rate had to go down to avoid going into a rollback election. Okay, so it's a system that's difficult to explain and difficult to handle. When I was county commissioner, we wrote the budget. I was in on that, and it's difficult. And I'll just say this: I think the appraisal district is an undemocratic and unfair system. It needs to be removed. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, it's a socialistic idea to tax property. We are already taxed on our income. Then we buy property, and we were taxed on the property that we've already been taxed on to buy. There are people who are being forced out of their homes because the taxes are going too high, even with the senior situation being over 65. And I'll have more to say than that later. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Klaus, you have another minute if you have anything else you want to add to that question.
No, I'm fine with what I said.
Okay. All right, we move to question number 3. Mr. Laux, this is your question first. The citizens of Bastrop County incorporated cities pay Bastrop County taxes. If elected judge and the citizens of Bastrop or Elgin or Smithville ask you, what do they get for those Bastrop County taxes? What would you tell them?
That's a really good question. You get, as far as emergency services, you get whatever emergency services are available to the county, throughout the county. If the police department in one of the municipalities needs backup, we're there for them. You also have fire support, mutual aid. It really is a mutual aid situation. The people who live in the municipalities also use county roads almost all the time to get to and from there where they live in their city. So it's, we realize we're being taxed for living in a city, but keep in mind, the greatest tax we pay is the school tax. And it's something like 60% of the tax bill. So the ESD taxes and the other taxes are really a much smaller part of the bill than the county tax. And we should be looking at the big bites as well as the small bites. Thank you.
Mr. Klaus, same question.
Like he said, the city sheriffs and everybody, they use the county jail. They use a county jail, and the sheriff backs up the police department if they have anything that goes on. The city people have to register their cars with the county. If you're going to get a marriage license, you register it with the county. Your liens on your houses, that's all. The county does that for all the people of the county, not just the county people are having to pay, use these services. So the county really does a lot of different things. I mean, I know when I first got out of the military, that was the first thing they told me to do, go to the county and register your DD 214. So the county really does a lot of things for the city, which people do not. If you sit back and think about it, I've never really sat back and thought about it until I started running for this office. But once I did, if you sit back and think about it, the county does a lot of things for the city as far as registering everything and that sort of stuff. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke, you have another minute. If you have anything else you want to add.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Klaus makes a valid point about the jail. The if one of the cities doesn't have a jail or doesn't have room in the jail, certainly the county takes up that slack, and that's very important. Valid point. There's a lot of interoperability. I know when I was county commissioner, sometimes there were interlocal agreements between the county and a city like Smithville for paving equipment or for materials. That was just kind of a shared thing. And it's beneficial to have that kind of cooperation between the county and the municipalities in the county. Don't forget, as time goes on, Travis County, the municipal footprint of the city of Austin is huge compared to the footprint of the county's footprint, just for exclusive. So things will change here in that regard. And I think that's something to keep in mind. You have to look down the road, look at the future, look at what we can expect.
All right. Question number 4, Mr. Klaus, this is for you first. What do you think are the key items that need to be addressed in the 2023 county budget?
Well, I think the most important thing on the budget is keeping up. Our sheriff's department needs to have plenty of funding, because the growth of the county, the more people we get in the county, the more people the sheriff's department is going to have to protect. So one of my main concerns is the sheriff's department. It is very important to the safety of everyone in the county, not just an individual group, but for the safety of everyone. So I believe that the sheriff's department is definitely something that I will be concerned about as far as getting a good budget for their protection and their services, because they are very important in the county. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke.
And also 911 services, not just the sheriff's department, but the whole emergency services, everything that involves emergency services and the safety of the county. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Locke, same question.
Oh, thank you. I've been active with the legislature especially in the last 2 sessions, along with the delegation from the Lost Pines Republican women, who serve us well in representing the county in the legislature. 2 things. We need what I call density management. With the way things are right now, we don't have zoning capacity in the county, that's just for municipal areas. Something has to be done to ensure that counties have some control over the density of housing to be, that are allowed in certain areas. And the reason I say this is that if the state guidelines, the law that the legislature passed can be followed and put an overburden on the county to provide services for that particular area. And that should be remedied. The second thing is property taxes. I mentioned that property taxes, I think are unfair. And when 2 sessions ago, when we went to the Senator Betancourt's committee, I pointed out to them, I said, you all know what the about the gentrification of East Austin. You know why that is? It's because the people there are being forced out of their ancestral homes because of taxes. And the developers and the bankers and the people who profit from that kind of renovation, that profit, but those people are forced out. So that's what we said.
All right, Mr. Klaus, you have another minute if you'd like to add anything to that question. Okay. All right, question number 5, Mr. Locks, this is for you. Confederate monuments have been widely discussed at the national, state, and regional level. Do you think the Confederate monument on the courthouse grounds should be relocated or left where it is?
I testified against moving the monuments. When you look at what is actually going on, it is the revision of history. If you think that the monuments, the whole issue about American history will stop at the monuments, you're mistaken. It will go on and on and on. You have to stop it now. Look at the movement behind that. Nothing happened until George Floyd died resisting arrest in police custody. And then all these riots started in blue cities. And it became a hue and cry to eliminate racism. Well, a monument is not racist, it's a monument. But the thing that really got me is during one of the sessions in court, one of the people there, demanding we move the monuments, also said, and witnesses are here who heard him say this, that I think we should move the Sayers grave too. It bothers me that Sayers is buried here. Now, Sayers was born in Bastrop County. He fought in the Civil War. He was the 22nd governor of state of Texas, and he's buried in Bastrop. And this guy said he wanted to move that grave. That's a desecration of a grave. That is sacrilege. That should not happen. But this is the mindset of the people who want to do this. I'm willing to talk to anyone about this, and I'll stop.
Mr. Klaus, same question to you.
I believe that history is history, and you should not move a statue just because it offends certain people. There's things all over the world that offend people, and there's not any way you're going to keep everybody satisfied. But history is history, and I do not agree with moving a statue just because it's a Confederate statue. I think that it should stay where it is, and people should just accept history the way it is. I do not feel like that it should be moved at all. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locks, you have another minute if you want to add anything else.
Thank you. And Mr. Klaus, thank you for your viewpoint on that. I agree. When you start destroying monuments, I made a remark to someone of another party that your history can be destroyed. And he said, "Oh no, it can't." I said, "Yes, it can in a country. People outside that country may know the history, but look at the communist regimes. Look at China. Look at the former Soviet Union. The first thing they just did is destroyed history. They eliminated it, and people who knew it. So we do not want to fall into that trap." Thank you.
All right, question number 6. Mr. Klaus, this is for you first. How do you believe the current county government is viewed by its citizens, and what do you think Bastrop County's reputation is within the larger Central Texas community?
the county, you're talking about the county government.
Yes, county government.
County government as a whole, I believe it is viewed people appreciate excuse me, the way things are done. I know that there are some things like I hear people talking about trying to get a permit to build things. That is one of the big concerns of mine. I can't really elaborate on it a whole lot until if I get into the office, then I will look in why it takes so long to get permits. Like I said, I don't know what the problem is. I don't know if people are not bringing the right paperwork when they need to get things done, if they're not listening to what they need. But I do know that that is one thing that we need to look into. As far as the county, I don't hear a lot of complaints about how the county is run. To me, it seems to be run pretty efficiently. And I think our Judge Poppy, has done a good job in his tenure as county judge. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke, same question to you. Let me read it again. I'd be happy to do that. How do you believe the current county government is viewed by its citizens? And what do you think Bastrop County's reputation is within the larger Central Texas community? Is viewed. Sorry about that. Is viewed. How do they perceive it? Yes.
I have heard both good and bad about the county government. I think that people here are generally happy with living here, or I guess they wouldn't live here. But you mentioned permits. There are departments well, let me say this. When I take office, if I'm fortunate and honored enough to do that, I will go through every county agency and look very closely at it, fine tooth comb. I will look at the manning. I will look at the productivity. I will look at the costs involved with it. And I have heard more complaints about permitting and inspections than I had anything else specifically. In my last year as county commissioner, I was put in charge of that department because of the vacancy that was the vacancy of the person who had it. So I understand that. So I'm looking forward to it. I love solving problems. I love looking at things and from a kind of a distance and seeing what all's interacting and then understanding what's needed to go back into it to fix it. And that's what I really enjoy more than anything. When I was a test pilot, I loved analyzing the airplanes that were broken and fixing them. But that's a different story. It's not county government, but it's really close.
All right, Mr. Klaus, you have another minute if you want to add anything to that question.
The last part of the question that you asked, how do I feel Central Texas is viewed by other people? Anytime you talk to somebody that lives in other counties and you tell them you're from Bastrop County, they say, "Oh, what a beautiful place. I would like to live there." So everyone you talk to, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about Bastrop County. People love Bastrop County and they really brag about Bastrop County. So I do definitely think that it is viewed as a wonderful county to live in. Thank you.
All right, question number 7, Mr. Locks, this is for you. Right now, that means the county, we are competing at a high level for economic development opportunities when compared to other Central Texas communities. What are we doing right, or what should we be doing differently?
Boy, I'm glad you asked that question. I think economic development should be watched closely. I don't think breaks should be given to businesses that don't deserve them, that must be in other words, anything we do for drawing business to the county should be beneficial to the county. And I'll give you an example of one that really kind of got my attention. And that was a solar farm down in Rosanke. Now, solar farms I don't have a problem with alternative energy, solar and wind. But from a scientific standpoint, I believe they should be used as point sources and not put into the grid. If you put those into the grid, they are not reliable. They, as we know from, a year ago in January. So we shouldn't install equipment like that to go into the grid on a regular basis. And we shouldn't give tax breaks to things that don't have high employment, that don't have a lot of employees. We have Mr. Sun doesn't pay income tax. Okay. But the other thing, the one thing that really got my attention, I've been trying to find out about it. What federal subsidies are given to solar and wind farms, solar and wind installations? I know it's a lot. They're not viable. You can't build them and install them without federal help. I want to know what that is. Getting that kind of help and then giving them more with tax breaks, like we just did with the Rosanke place, that we should look at that very much more closely. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Klaus, same question for you, sir.
I do not believe in giving tax breaks for solar farms or anything. I understand the solar farm in Rosanke, we were given tax breaks, but I was told that we also got a lot of things in return for building the solar farm. I can't elaborate on it a whole lot because I just very little stuff that I heard about it, but I did not agree with using eminent domain to take land from people if you're going to do it. I don't believe in giving a lot of tax breaks because I don't believe in giving any tax breaks. If somebody wants to move in here, I believe they should have the money to come in here and do what they want to do. I don't think we should subsidize them any tax breaks at all. I think we should just let them, it's just like people ask me about subdivisions. Would you subsidize a subdivision for coming in here? And I'm definitely not going to give anybody tax break on a subdivision. You can't tell people what they can do with their land. But if a realtor wants to come in here, I think he ought to have to pay what everybody else pays. Or I mean, not a realtor, but a builder. And if he wants to develop a piece of property, I think he should do what our laws tell him to do and foot the bill. That's the way I feel about that. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke, you have another minute to respond. Any additional information?
Thank you. I largely agree with Mr. Klaus on that, but we have to look at it really from the nickel and dime standpoint. If a business is coming in, how many employees will it have? What will it be its gross product? And then we figure what the benefit to the county is. If it's going to bring in a large number of employees who will be buying, well, it doesn't matter if you buy, if you rent, you still pay property tax. But if they're bringing in a boost to the economy, to the Bastrop economy, then a tax break could be considered. But again, it's something that has to be looked at very closely, case by case basis, and has to be beneficial to us.
All right, question number 8, Mr. Klaus, this is for you. Do you support or oppose a centralized county road and bridge system as opposed to the separate precinct management now in place? And how would you see the county road and bridge system working if it was implemented?
I do not support a centralized road and bridge division. I have heard it had been tried in other counties and it did not work. Now, as far as that's all I can really say about it, because I think our roads, I think Bastrop County has got good roads. There is a few of them. I traveled since been in the air conditioning business. I pretty well traveled every road in the county. And I do think that we have good roads, but I do not, just giving the power to one person, I think you're better off with having county commissioners that if you give it, if you have it just one person making the decisions, I believe you're going to have more squabbling among the county commissioners. So I definitely believe our system is working. So I would not agree with changing what we have since it's working good like it is. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke, same question to you.
That's a great question, and I would really want to address it. There is a point of diminishing returns at which a county has less and less roads and bridges to take care of. I just mentioned the municipal footprint of Austin and Travis County. When it gets to the point where there's very little just plain old county, then it makes sense to go to a centralized road and bridge, because what was the original name for county commissioner? Road commissioner. That was his job, is to maintain county roads. So when we have a large area of the county under the county and not under a municipality, I think it's a responsibility of the county commissioners to their constituents to take care of the roads, and they're easy to find. When you have a city, then you have a city council and the city manager and all those people. So Williamson County went to a central road and bridge district, or central road maintenance, too soon. They did not have the municipal footprint yet to handle that, and as a result, they had a lot of complaints. They still do have complaints because they have an unelected official in charge of managing the road and bridge for the county. I think it should remain in the purview of the individual commissioners until it's clear that the county footprint is small enough where you can just turn it over into one maintenance function.
All right, Mr. Klaus, you have another minute if you have anything else to add. Nothing else? All right, I'm not going to ask you any more questions, at least for 5 minutes. We're going to take a break and ask Becky to come back up here so y'all can rest and drink some water, whatever.
So we're going to give you a chance just to take a breather because you've been hit with 8 questions already. So I want to remind everybody that you have 2 opportunities to cast a vote in May. The first one is for our general and special election. And I want to remind you that tomorrow is the last day for early voting. It's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with election day on Saturday, May 7th. If you go to our Bastrop Votes Initiative and you go to the voter information tab, there's a drop-down box and you can find all the locations where you can go vote. At the same time, to save you time, I would suggest that you print your ballot in advance. Inevitably, there is something on the ballot that you were not expecting, and we do have 2 constitutional amendments right now on the ballot, so you need to look those up before you go. You cannot take an electronic device into the voter booth with you, or a tablet or a phone. So you can take a paper ballot. So I suggest looking those up and figuring out how you want to vote before you go. Lastly, the second election for the month of May is this runoff, and hence the reason why we're having this runoff candidate forum tonight. So early voting for that election is May 16th through Friday, May 20th, with election day on Tuesday, May 24th. Again, please go to our voter information tab under bastropvotes.com and find those voting locations. So, Judge Dunn, you ready to take back over? I got to do it faster than.
Okay.
Do we want to take a break? No. We want to get done by 6:30, so I'll let you go ahead and take back over.
Checking the time. Audience, are y'all ready? Okay. Mr. Locks, Ms. Klaus, are y'all ready? Question number 9, Mr. Locks, this one is for you first here. Traffic in Bastrop County has increasingly become worse. That's an understatement. What can you do in the legislature to help address funding for local projects? Wait, excuse me. Mr. Locks, that's for you. All right, let me read it again. Traffic in Bastrop County has increasingly become worse. What can you do in the legislature to help address funding for local projects? Yeah,
Good question. I worked with TxDOT. In fact, when I was county commissioner, the 1.2 miles through downtown Bastrop, they wanted to make that a 1.2 mile tollway. And the same with Elgin. And we said, no, we don't want that. We took a delegation to the TxDOT commission. Rick Williamson was the commissioner. And we explained to him that we did not want tolling, so people would have to go on a tollway to one part of the town to another expeditiously. And we said it's not acceptable. We had a joint resolution from city of Elgin, city of Bastrop, and the commissioner's court. And he said, well, then you're not going to get funding. Okay. About 3 weeks later, I got a call from the TxDOT and he said, well, we found the funding, but it'll be delayed a little bit. Well, okay, fine. Well, we got what we wanted. I've worked with TxDOT here on the improvements to the roads, but we need more funding. Funding for roads should be focused on the areas of growth where it's needed. Now, the converse of that is that if you build a bunch of roads, the congestion will just get bad at some time eventually. So it takes a lot of planning in the future. The first step is to go to TxDOT and plan with them, find out what they need to get done what we want, and then go to the legislature and lobby for that. That's why I want to call for a conference, a summit of county judges here this summer. Thank you.
Mr. Klaus, same question for you, sir. A minute and a half.
Well, as far as he said, you just have to go to the legislature and talk to them and see if you can get funding for the roads. I understood that we had funding for the overpasses from Travis County line into Bastrop. I don't know what happened to the funding. It definitely went away because now we don't see a lot of work as far as moving power lines or anything. So I'm not sure where the money went. I had talked to somebody and they told me that the overpasses here in Bastrop would be finished by the end of the year. And I also asked him the same question about the overpasses between here and Austin. It is definitely something we need to look into and try to talk with TxDOT until I get into a position where I know the people with the transportation department. I don't know who I would need to go talk to, but that is something that's very important because Highway 71 is really bad and 969, a lot of people are using 969 and the traffic on 969 is really, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So without being in the office and talking with people that we need to talk to, I couldn't tell you. I just know you need to go to the state legislature and talk to them about funding and also the highway department. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locks, anything else you'd like to add to that question?
Yes, I've already started talking to TxDOT about specifics of the improvement on Highway 71 and some of the issues that I had. One in particular, just to give you an example, there was they wanted to close a crossover and then say, well, you just go down a quarter of a mile and go use another crossover. I said, have you driven it? They said, no. Well, you ought to, because I went to that crossover. You want us to turn around to get back to Bastrop. And the time from the first time you see the oncoming traffic until the time it hits the crossover was 12 seconds. That doesn't work. They didn't even check that. You work with the engineers first, but the legislature is the place to go to make sure the funding. By the way, the highway, the 71 funding has been diverted to the I-35 funding through Austin. I just found that out when I was talking to the engineers. I like talking to engineers because they know how to make things and how to get things done and what, that's the first step. So that's the plan. I would work that way and we get to the legislature to get the funding. Thank you.
All right, question number 10, Mr. Klaus, this is for you first. Do you think illegal immigration is a federal responsibility or should the state lead the charge? If so, how?
I definitely think it is a federal project because down at the border, the more people that are sent this way, the more people that we will have to deal with. And, if people would come across the border properly, my family came over here in the 1850s. And so I can't say a whole lot about the immigration people coming over here because they have a right. I guess I'd say a right, but if they would come into the country properly, I can't say that I can't say that I can. I don't know how to answer it. I can't say that I don't want them over here because they do come over here and do good work. But I definitely think that it is a federal deal and the federal government should take care of it, I think, more than the state or the county government should. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Locks, same question.
Article 1 of the Constitution states that it is a responsibility of the executive branch to protect the states from invasion. It also says that in the case of the federal government failing to do that, the states may protect themselves. What I found appalling is that in a case here, somebody where Texas says, well, we're going to protect our borders from invasion. And they said, no, you can't do it. We disallow that because it's a responsibility of the federal government in immigration and naturalization. That is a bad decision. That is an unconstitutional decision. Texas should have taken up the mantle of protecting its border years ago. Now, I don't know how you define an invasion. I mean, when we have people hustled into this country with the help of other countries carrying tons of dangerous drugs, when last I heard is either 1,000, I don't remember the exact, 1,000 or 3,000 people a week die from fentanyl overdoses. I remarked in a column 3 or 4 years ago, what better way to kill off the youth of America than importing poison to kill them? That has to be stopped. And the federal government better step up. And I think the state government had better step up also. And I served in the state guard. I'm sorry that we're not doing more. I really am.
All right, Mr. Klaus, anything else you want to add to that? All right. All right, question number 11, Mr. Locks, this is for you first. Suppose Bastrop County was considering a development proposal that met all the regulations and ordinances, yet was disliked by a large number of county residents who appeared before the court in opposition. How would you decide how to vote?
Just to make sure I understand, if a large number of citizens came to talk against something,
Yes.
okay, well, is it a legal thing to do? This is one of the problems we have with developments. Developers can do whatever they want to as long as it complies and comports with state law. People can testify against it like we did about Double Eagle Ranch, but there's nothing we can do to stop it because it comports with state law. And if the federal and the state, if the county government disallowed it, it could be sued. So we have to fix that so that the county governments have more say. Notwithstanding, we need to listen to the people and use that as a way to leverage the state legislature. Petitions work pretty well when the legislator's constituents stack them on their desk in the legislative office. That's what I found is effective. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Klaus, same question. You want me to read it again? I'll be happy to. Suppose Bastrop County was considering a development proposal that met all regulations and ordinances, yet was disliked by a large number of county residents who appeared before the court in opposition. How would you decide how to vote on that project?
Well, if it meets all the county's mandates, I'm not going to say for sure how I would vote. I would have to look at the situation and figure out why these people do not want the subdivision to come in. We can't stop growth. That's part of subdivisions. I'm not going to say how I would vote because I would have to look at the situation and get in the office and look at the situation before I would even make a statement. For one thing, I would like to know why the people do not want the subdivision coming in. Out in the country, you can have manufactured houses. I know some of the other counties around have subdivisions with manufactured houses. There again, you can't tell people where they can live. You can't tell people that they can't move manufactured houses in. You've got some people that if they can't afford, you want fair housing in the county. So you pretty well need to look at what's coming in before you decide how you're going to vote. So I'm not going to say one way or the other how I would vote. I would have to look at the situation. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Locke, you have another minute if you want to add anything to that question.
Thank you. Keep this in mind. State government is strong. County government is weak. Okay, there's only so many things that a county government can do to solve problems. If state law is being adhered to by a developer, there's almost nothing that we can do. Okay, so we need a county judge who has had legislative experience. I served on a congressional staff for one. I've been to this legislature many times. And we need someone who can present issues to the legislature, to whatever committees they have, to the different agencies and commissions, to put forth what we want done in the form of legislation and rules. That's what we have to do.
All right. Question number 12, the one we've been looking for, or you've been looking for. Question 12, Mr. Klaus, this is for you. Thinking outside your career or employment, what other personal life experiences do you feel have prepared you for service as a county judge?
Well, as far as leading the county, as far as I've been a VFW commander, as far as holding, county commissioners court. I was VFW commander for 12 years. Knights of Columbus. I held meetings, took care of meetings. That has helped me to learn how to do business in a meeting. Also, I have worked with the people of Bastrop County for 45 years, visited with people. I enjoy talking to people, and I think the experience of visiting with people in the county and talking to people has gave me plenty of knowledge about solving things of course, he did say not with your business, but being in the business, you have to solve problems for people. And I think that has given me experience in solving problems. So I think that has helped me in my life, what I did in life. Thank you.
Mr. Locke, same question for you.
My whole life has focused me to this, what I'm doing right now is campaigning for county judge and to serve you as your county judge. Everything. Just learning a trade when I was 12 years old, working all through high school as a glazer, going through college, working as a motorcycle mechanic. I know both sides of the counter. A career in the Air Force, professional military education, including Air War College, master's degree. The TEM, that's very important. Every county judge is responsible for emergency management in his respective county. Not one of the 254 is a certified emergency manager. If I'm elected, I will be the only certified Texas emergency manager as a county judge. I think considering what we have had to happen here in Bastrop County, that would be useful. Also, my service as a firefighter for 15 years. A firefighter 2, that's a professional level. My business experience, I have a family corporation out of state that I manage. I'm a federal firearms licensee, which I provide services to people who want to purchase firearms here in Bastrop County. I really enjoyed doing that. I made a lot of friends with that. Everything in my life points me to this, and I'm so blessed to be in this position. Thank you.
Mr. Klaus, you have another minute. If you have anything else you want to add.
Well, I don't have any training in emergency management, but I believe that the county, if they've got an emergency management system and team in case we have another natural disaster, fires, floods, or anything, I believe that the emergency management coordinator should take care of that kind of stuff. I don't want to get involved in their business because I might sit there and argue with them. So I think they should take care of that business. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that all of the questions, and we have used our whole hour, so we need to move directly to closing. Is that right, Becky? Okay. So with closing statements, these are 2 minutes long. Mr. Locks, you get to go first. Mr. Klaus, you'll follow up. Okay.
It's really been a good experience here. I really enjoy doing this. I enjoy talking to my constituents. When I was going door to door, I forgot how many homes I went to. One of the things that they said is that we can't get to the county commissioners meeting. We work during the day. So right there, okay, what I will do as county commissioner, as county judge, is have the second meeting of the month scheduled in the evenings. That has gotten overwhelming support from the people I talk to. They really like the idea of doing that, especially, we can bring the kids and see how government works. I want to audit all county finances to ensure most effective use of our hard-earned tax dollars, including contracts. Strengthen the sheriff's department. We didn't talk a whole lot about that, but I'll reiterate, we need salaries and a pay system that will retain good deputies and staff and prevent us from the excessive cost of turnover. I'll work with state and state government and then legislators and federal government legislators necessary to get the tools necessary to manage accelerated growth. I'm completely dedicated to doing this. I've been waiting for this opportunity, and I think it's just the right time. I can't tell you how I feel about this. It's been something that is just firmly in my mind that I will do a good job. I know what I need to do. I'd be happy to talk to any or all of you anytime you want to, what you want to discuss the county prospects. I'm here to do that. I'm looking forward to the opportunity, getting through the runoff, onto the general election and into office. And I will be working, if I get the nomination, I will be working for a summit of county judges to get things rolling before the next legislature convenes. So I'll be working for you even now. Thank you.
Klaus, 2 minutes for you also. Closing.
If I'm elected your county judge, I will work with the commissioners and all the department heads to trim the budget as much, to keep the budget intact. I will try to keep the taxes as low as we can. And main thing, I will work with all the department heads and the commissioners and do what I can to make this county run smoothly. Thank you. That's really all I got to say.
All right, that should pretty much finalize this forum. I want to thank the audience for being here and both candidates for your attention here, and thank you for a good forum. And Becky, I will turn it over to you again.
Sure. Thank you. So I need to recognize a few individuals who helped us with this first forum and will be helping us with the next one. But first tonight, I need to recognize Corbin Wright back here on the cameras. Excited to see what he does. Yes, round of applause. Can't wait to see what he does with editing this footage and everything, especially with his experience coming from KXAN. So really excited to see this posted on our Bastrop Chamber Facebook page, along with our Bastrop Votes Initiative website. Also to our Governmental Affairs Committee and the support of our Board of Directors. I want to thank them for making this initiative possible. And our Board of Directors is led by Chad Benoit this year. And I believe our past chair, Lori Tuggle's in the house. So thank you for your support. And I want to thank you, Christy Lee, for leading our Governmental Affairs Committee and for your leadership on that committee and everything that you do in our community. And then lastly, Judge Stone, we're right here. Thank you so much for being here and doing this forum and always keeping us on track. And finally, I want to thank both candidates for being here tonight. I know it's not fun being on the hot seat and didn't know what questions were coming at you, but I appreciate it. I feel like it was a forum that was conducted very well. And just want to remind you that they will be around for a few minutes. Our next forum should start at 7 o'clock, but please take the time to get to know the candidates and evaluate your options so that before you go to the polls, you know what you're voting for. In December 2015, the BastropVotes.com initiative was just a great idea. But now I believe that it is a great service that we're offering Bastrop and Bastrop County so that voters are educated and know what they're doing when they go to the polls. So again, remember to investigate before you go to the polls on May 7th and May 24th. And again, thank you for being here, and we will start the next forum at 7 p.m.